Hey guys, this is Andy Blondin. I wanted to respond to the question that came up on the Unreal Facebook group. Question about composure, compositing, video footage, green screen. How do you do a keyer, and also why does my footage look dark oftentimes? So we're going to go over the basics of composure. And to start off, you would need to do a couple things. You need to make sure you go into your plugins and make sure that you have composure enabled. So if I can spell, you can type in composure, check that on, go ahead and restart Unreal, and once you do, you'll have this nice composure window, and you will find that under Window Composure Compositing. So if I check that on, pop her open, you'll see here that we have composure. And when you first start off, it will be a blank window. And similar to After Effects, you're going to create a comp. And in this comp, you can have some preset elements, but I'd say 99% of the time I start off with just a blank comp. And in this, it will give us a name. And it will say that it's empty because we don't really have anything in this yet. But you'll see under the details panel, you'll see a composure section for each of these elements. And what we're going to deal with is primarily these items, and I'll go through each one bit by bit. So if you come back to the comp, you can right click on it, and there are three different kinds of layer elements. There's a media plate for video files. You can play a file-based green screen plate, let's say. You can do a live SDI feed. You can also do just a texture. There's CG layers, which are scene captures that capture parts of the scene and allow us to split things into layers. And there's also matte layers, which is a white and black matte that can be used for different compositing tricks. So to start off, simply let's add a media plate, and I'll show you. A media plate goes ahead under the composure section and says that it's a media source, and once you've created a video player, which I've already done, you can go ahead and click on a media texture and load that. And you can see here that I have a video clip. And in a video clip, when you go ahead and hit play, I'll just let that loop. You can see that you have thumbnails here. And these thumbnails can be locked, and you can get all of your different layers. You can see each one of them at various times. So you can kind of see them in context or multiple at the same time. The nice thing about this is you can pop this open by hitting the P key, and it gives you a new window. And sometimes you can use this to go ahead and dock this on another monitor. But there's some nice things built into this, and we hopefully are going to enhance it much more in the future. So we have some of the values for picking and trying to see the color values. We have the red, blue, and green channel in alpha. So if you hit R on the keyboard, it'll do your red channel. G, B, and A will be for your alpha. And similar to Nuke, I guess if you just toggle R back and forth, you can inspect just the channel and then go back to full color. So that's a pretty nice feature. So we have a media plate, and let's say we want to put that over top of the background. Well, when you create a media plate, what that does is it adds three effects. If we scroll down, I'll give you an introduction to this thing called transform passes. And transform passes are similar to in After Effects how you would have an effect, but it's all done through materials. So you can make your own materials that can pass in different effects. So the first material is a chroma keyer. And if we look at this chroma keyer, you can see that there's the name. So if you want to change the name, you can change the name here, and that will change after you've toggled off the element, went back and forth. Doesn't update in real time. But there's the key color, which is the important thing. So when we click on the key color, you can see it will add one element to the array. It's black right now, but if I click this little plus button, it pops open a window for me to do my color selection. So as I select, and if I hit that A, you can see that I'm selecting and getting an alpha here. And you might see some flicker that's in here, and that comes from this dvignette here. That value is just a little bit high by default. So let's go ahead and pull a key. I'm going to hit A on the keyboard. Again, I hit P to pop this open, A to preview the alpha. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these top 3 typically to find a good alpha. And after I've picked the color, I'm going to go ahead and lower both of these down. This top one, chroma bounds, is trying to sample the chroma, and this is providing contrast. So what I want to do is lower the contrast till, as we can see, the core of her starting to show back up, and I'll bring it back up. And then I'm going to use this top one to clean up any of the last little kind of dirt schmutz stuff on the outside. And then when I hit A to go back, you can see we've already pulled a key. Next, after that, we can go further into each one of these, but by playing with them, you'll see that, you know, this hardens the alpha up and clipping the white and the black, and blurring the edges of the matte itself under the pre-blur. Let's look at the D-spill. So in the D-spill here, it's doing a similar key, but it's pulling a color. So as I hit the plus button, I can go ahead and select a color, and you can see here it's selecting black, so it's not really doing what we want. We want to select those fine edges to get the correct D-spill. And you can see it's lightening all those edges and making them gray now instead. Now in some cases you want this, and in some cases you don't. So these are just the defaults that we add on, but I can show you hopefully here how to change those and add your own, and extend this. So next up after that, we have an erode. So if we look at the erode kernel size here, you'll see as I pull this up, especially if I look at the alpha channel, you can see it, we're starting to blur those edges and pull those down. So if we need to choke that edge, that's how we would do it. I'll leave it for now, but we might play with this once we're compositing it over a background. But you can see there's the enable button that's here. And as I turn these on and off, that's kind of like the eyeball, I guess, in After Effects, where we can toggle those on and off. Okay, so we have our media plate, we're playing it, it's keying the footage, but we can't see it over our background. So there's a couple more things that we need to do. At the top level right now, what it's expecting is a material, and it's a post-process material that we need to feed into this area here in Composure called the transform pass. So transform pass, we're going to add an element into the array. It's a custom material. And with this, I will go ahead and I'll make this one from scratch just to show you guys. So I'll say m underscore, and we'll call this comp tutorial. We'll just tut. And I'm going to go ahead and open this guy. And the key is that this needs to be a post-process material domain. And by doing this, this is where kind of the magic happens in allowing us to put elements over top of each other inside Composure. Another good thing to do is to go into the alpha channel inside of here and output the alpha. So you can see here now we have an extra pin for opacity. Some cases you might want to do this if you want to like have one comp feeding into another, then this is how we would do that. There is one caveat in the project settings. You need to go into the render section and go ahead and type in alpha, and you'll see under post-process, enable alpha channel support and post-process. It's usually disabled. We need to change this to linear color space only. And what that's going to do is that enables the post-processing to also have an alpha channel. And so if you need to get a key and fill out, this is how you would do that. So next up, what we need to do is we need to add our elements. And I'll take a step back to the comp for a second. So before we put that in, what we need to do is we need to create a CG layer. So I'm going to add a layer, and I'm going to say it's a CG layer. And here, let's call this BG. And this is going to be my background. It says it's missing a camera, so let's go ahead and add one of those now. Actually, we can do it right from here. We can come under here and say create camera, create cine camera actor, and it'll pop in. So what that's done is that links the background to the first cine camera actor that it finds, but we can also do that in the comp here under target camera. We can say cine camera actor, and now this is the main camera of the comp. So when any new CG layer that we have, it's going to be using that camera. So now if I drive that camera around, you can see inside my viewport, I have that. So let's go ahead and put the media plate over top of the background now. And let's go back to the material. And in here, what we're going to do is we're going to create two, if we type in 2D parameter, texture sampler 2D, and we're going to go ahead and give it the same names. You don't have to, but the first time you're doing this, I would suggest, to make it easy, just give it the same names that we gave it up top. And let's call this media plate. And media plate 1, but that's okay. I'll keep it media plate. I'll show you in just a second. So under composure here, you will see that there are a couple of provided material functions. The one that you'll probably use the most is an over, and if you've used Nuke before, this is like the merge node that allows you to add something or plus it over one another. And what it's expecting is a 4 vector. So we're going to use the RGBA and the RGBA, and we'll put this into the emissive. And so we can also provide it a mask for a specific spot, but we just want to simply put the media plate over the background. In After Effects, this would be like layer 1 and layer 2 on top. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Let's just minimize this. And now we need to feed it that material that we have here. And you see it's coming up with the, but I didn't have the same name, so we just need to assign it in this input elements. It picked up the background automatically because we had it the same. Well, I had a different name, media plate 1. So now you can see here that I have the composite going over the background. And no matter where I move the camera now, it's a 2D composite of the background over top of the CG. You'll also see if I pull up the green screen clip here that we're getting the same, we're not getting it tone mapped, we're not getting temporal anti-aliasing or motion blur or any of the unwanted effects. So we're placing that over top, but we're doing it in the post process, which is not technically in the 3D scene anymore. Okay, so next up, let's add an element in the foreground. We'll put something in front of her. Okay, let's go in and we'll put just a cone inside here. And we're gonna start to get a little bit trickier, is that we need to add this to a layer. So Composure can use the layer system that's built in to organize different aspects of the scene. And so by doing this, what we're going to do is we're going to create, if you have never done this before, you come under here and you open the layers. And now what we're going to do is assign this cone to a layer. So add selected to the new layer, and let's just call this FG for foreground. And you can toggle this on and off, and you can see that we've added that as a layer. Well, now we can go in and create a new CG layer, and let's call this FG as well. And it doesn't automatically pick it up. It would be nice if it did, but currently we need to add this individually. So if we come under foreground, we come to our composure section, this area right here, captured actors, is what we're looking for. And we can hit the plus button, add a member to the array, and we want to say we want to include the foreground layer. And by doing this, it's going to go ahead and put the foreground layer on top or into that render target. There's a couple things here. You can see just so I show and demo, but you can hit exclude and anything that's not on this layer will go into that layer. So sometimes it's easy to just put everything on the background because these items are on the foreground, for example. So I'll do the include. Now there's one more thing I want to show you is that the scene captures, if we look at the alpha channel here, you know, looks correct, looks good, but one thing that always comes up is you can see that this has the atmosphere and the fog included in it. And if we come to our comp, once I've added this over, you'll see that oftentimes with foreground objects, what we want to do is come in and turn the fog off. And I'll demo this, I guess, to show you just because it's one of those gotchas in advance. We'll name this FG. And what we're going to do is, so we have that part of the comp, this is A over B. Now we're going to take this guy, and this foreground element is going to be on top of that. Save. And now if we come back to here, you can see it's kind of, for some reason it looks like there's an issue with the transparency or something, but really what it comes down to is that fog that I was telling you about. On here, we can click on the scene capture component, you can type in fog, and we can turn that off, and now you'll see that everything looks correct. So if we go ahead and pilot this around, you can see that we have an element that's in the foreground, she's in the middle, and the background is everything else. So we kind of have a simple 3-layer comp going on here. Now it is a 2D effect. It's not truly 3D, so it's layered in between each other. So let me show you how to customize some of these transform passes that I was showing you on the media plate. So you can build your own. If I search for these, click on the search button, and you have to have show engine and show plugin contents. You'll see here that I'm in the composure contents section, and there are a number of pre-made material functions that we've worked on that allow you to do some simple compositing. So there's different effects here. Single pass keyer, there's a multi-pass keyer, there's a one with a D-spill included in it. There's an erode alpha like you saw, and these can be deleted off, similar to you would do something in After Effects, and then you can also rearrange these. So if I drag this one up and put that there, it happens in that order. So we can reorder the stack. Let's do it from scratch. Let's delete these off, and I'll show you, for example, a couple of these other ones. I'll show you. I'll even add in. I believe I have my own color difference keyer. So I'll add a plus button, add in a color difference keyer. Sometimes you'll see here that in the material itself, you have inputs, and in these inputs and the parameters, like linear color plate, these need to be populated through the drop downs. And so most of the time you're going to say that it's the pre-pass. So it's the previous pass basically filling it. And so sometimes when you pop on a new material, but any material that you've exposed parameters and properties to that is a post-process material, you'll see here that any of those parameters show up. So let me pop this open and see. So I will work on the key of this. Basically, you can come in and for some reason there's a bug right now, but if I select, you can see the average color is selecting the backing color, but it's not displaying the full green. But this is the color difference keyer, and then inside of here, you can go ahead and pop this open, inspect the alpha, look at this, you can change the threshold so it's a little tighter. Color difference keyers are known for good hair detail. And so we've added in a bunch of different effects. Let me, this one actually everything's kind of included in it. So what I want to do is I want to build up the previous example. I'm going to delete that off again and show you from the composure folder. So it's going to be a custom material pass. You can see that there's more options than just custom materials, but there's open color IO that we can put in here. We can do the tone mapper. Here's some presets if we want to pull those up, or we can go to the composure folder, but I'll do the multipass chroma keyer. I'll add that one in. And then I'll add in the despill. So let me pop this one open so I can see it. I'll click on the color key, go through this, I'll select the color, I'm going to accept it. I'm going to change that size for the D vignette. I'll look at the alpha. I'm going to bring this down, both of these, till the core matte is tight. Okay, so that's pretty close. So now you may have seen in there, I'm going to go to that section. There's another despill method. So the first one I showed you, select a hue. There's one in here that's called despill by average. And what that's going to do, I'm going to come up to the transform pass and hit the plus. And it might be a good idea to rename this guy. So we'll call this green, or we'll call this chroma key. This one we'll call despill. And I'm going to take the despill by average that's in the chroma key and in the composure. I'm going to drop this on, and you can see right there, you can tell the difference when I hit enable. It's taking, limiting the green channel by the red and the blue channel. So now if I look at the end result, you can see here the hair detail isn't quite as good, but the despill's pretty decent. So if I come back to, sorry, I'm used to having a second monitor. Material parameters is where you find most of your things. So now I might want to soften this back up, and you can kind of see the hair detail growing a little bit back. Trying to just target that and get a better range. So yeah, I mean that's the basics of composure. I'm sure you guys still have tons of questions. Hopefully I'll be able to answer them as best I can. I think for now, that is a good start to get you up and running. If you have any other questions, I guess just post them in the comments. I'll try to answer. So yeah, thanks so much, guys.